This is the Project Management Podcast. We bring project management topics to beginners and experts. Find us on the web at www.thepmpodcast.com or send your emails to pmpodcast@gmail.com.
Hello and welcome to part 2 of episode number 114. I am Cornelius Fichtner. This is the Project Management Podcast for the 28th of February 2009. Nice to have you with us. So, this is part 2 of a presentation by Margaret Maloney. Here's a quick reminder in regards to what this is all about. About a month ago, Margaret Maloney sent out an email that was titled, "Congratulations, you're out of work." This email led to a discussion between us, and I quickly realized that what she has to say can be of enormous value and help to my listeners as well. After all, not a day goes by on which I don't hear about yet another company that is reducing their staff by several hundred, several thousands. Some of you may be affected. So here is part 2 of Margaret's discussion on how you can turn being laid off into a positive experience. If you want to get your hands on Margaret's complete package that includes the ebook, then please click over to www.margaretmaloney.com/CYOW.html. Of course, you can find this link on our website as well, and that's thepmpodcast.com, of course. But first, I have another gizmo for you. If you have a username and a password for a website, or if you have a badge that opens the doors in your company, or if you have a bank account, then you have an identity with these companies. And if you are a project manager who is involved in setting up systems that manage these identities, well then, identity management should be at the forefront of your thinking. So let's take a look today at a podcast that helps you succeed with identity management. It is called Identity Management Solutions, and here is Corbin Links to introduce it to you. Hello, Corbin, and welcome to the Project Management Podcast.
Well, hello, Cornelius, and thank you so much for having me on.
You are the host of the Identity Management Success Podcast. So let's start out with the obvious question. What is identity management?
You know, Cornelius, it's a pretty broad term these days, but essentially it really refers to the creation, management, and auditing of what we call identity units, which we'll talk more about here in a minute. And it can also be viewed as the set of processes from the birth to death or inception to termination of things such as usernames, passwords, security tokens, building access cards, and that type of thing.
Okay, so whose identity exactly are we talking about and managing?
That's a great question, and I like to say it encompasses the nouns, people, places, and things, and relationships. So an example of the thing in terms of identity and access management would be the physical system such as an ATM. A place example might be something such as the access gate at an amusement park. And people would be the workers within a business who need access to some kind of digital system. Examples might be things such as emails, websites, portals, ERP systems, and things like that. And maybe even put another way, it's kind of the process of managing the identity of any noun with a relationship to a place, place, business, or organization.
Why should the listeners of the Project Management Podcast listen to your program?
You know, sooner or later, what I've found in being in this business for many, many years and doing a lot of IT and infrastructure is that many project and program managers at some point are going to be faced with some kind of really large enterprise-scale IT infrastructure project. And our podcast, while it focuses typically on particular types of projects as opposed to, say, project management as a profession and discipline, we do cover a lot of what I call the street issues, if you will, of project management that other businesses won't touch, especially the large companies, such as addressing politics at a very deep level, organizational and cultural issues, communications, how to skirt corporate communication issues to get things done, and so forth. And probably other material of use to your listeners, I think, would be things such as budgeting, hiring, and staffing projects, meeting deliverables and multi-year programs, and so forth. The multi-year component actually is key because these types of projects are always large. The bare minimum smallest project you'll see is $500 to $600K, and they go well up into the tens of millions for larger organizations because they tend to touch everything within the organization. And they generally last anywhere from 2 to 5 years. So there's a lot of endurance issues to consider when setting up a program of this size.
It sounds like the listeners would be learning a lot of various project management aspects from your program.
We certainly hope so. It's unlike a lot of, just as a quick aside, a lot of things that we cover are not typically addressed in programs of this nature because other podcasts, other materials focus a lot on the technical aspects, and we focus on the business and politics of managing these types of programs because if there's one thing they are extremely intensely political. So we like to spend a lot of time covering those issues.
When should a project manager who has been handed a new project of this type think about identity management?
I would personally suggest that project managers and program managers, and especially those involved in any way with large IT projects as opposed to, say, other types of infrastructure projects, and examples of this actually would be things such as identity management, as we've mentioned, or unified communications, ERP, things of that size and scope. Might want to probably think about it actually before they start and kind of get in early because if you manage programs within any of those silos, you're going to at some point deal with all of the issues that we cover. And a great many organizations out there now, especially in government and publicly traded organizations, are considering or in the midst of large IAM or identity management projects because for a number of reasons, primarily regulatory and compliance oriented. So there definitely is a lot of it out there, and it's a very high program and project management footprint.
Excellent. And finally, of course, what is the website where people can find your podcast?
They can go to iamsuccesstips.com/podcast.
Perfect. Corbin, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much, Cornelius. I really enjoyed talking with you, and thanks for having me on.
And here is our usual Gizmos disclaimer. We don't endorse the gizmos that we present in this segment. We just want to tell you that they exist. Please use your own judgment. The companies and individuals who are presenting a gizmo here do not pay us for the privilege. And now let's jump right into part 2 of the presentation Congratulations, You're Out of Work by Margaret Maloney.
On the other hand, you might be pleasantly surprised at where help does come from. And this is why it is so important to be able to go out and mix and mingle and talk to people and just, again, look them in an eye and say, I'm looking for my next opportunity. Because you don't know who is going to tell you about a great position, a great contact, a great new job search service. So you know what? When somebody reaches their hand out to you, take it. And one day, you'll probably be able to return the favor. Circling back to positive thinking, I want you to assume that this time in your life is going to be wonderful. That this is a time in the life where you can make anything you want, and that you are going to manage it in such a way that you're going to have great stories to tell people. And when you look back, you're going to have great memories to look back upon. But you can't do that unless you assume that it's going to be good, unless you yourself say, you know what, I'm going to do great in this experience. Sure, this is a challenge. I didn't want it. But I am just going to assume that this is going to be another great adventure in my life. And it is your life. And even if you started out thinking, this is not my favorite time in life, it is still a part of your life. The clock is ticking. You get this life. That's it. So you want to make the best of it. There's no reason for you not to try to make every day as wonderful as possible. Let's talk about how you can do that. Let's get into how you can use this time, how this time can be a gift. There's a quote from Mark Twain that I love, and I think you'll see why. Work and play are words used to describe the same thing under different circumstances. See, it's all about your outlook, isn't it? Some people go to an office for many hours a week and get a paycheck, and they say it's play. And some people think of it as pure drudgery. I once heard somebody express a similar sentiment, and at first I thought he was just crazy. So that shows you where I was in life. Somebody asked an instructor of mine, "How many hours a week do you work?" And do you know what he answered? He said 0. And we were all stunned. And he explained, he shouldn't have needed to explain, but he explained, "I don't feel like I work. When you love what you do, you don't feel like you work." And that's why he said 0 hours per week. Isn't that great? I think it's great. And that sets the tone, I think, for let's talk about how you can use this time and how you can make this time a gift in your life. First, I'm asking you to think about, what do you miss? What do you really miss about the office? Okay, besides pay, besides the paycheck, what do you miss? There's probably something, if you miss something that you miss, that you can recreate. For example, if you miss being around people, then go out someplace in public where you can be around people. Go to a coffee shop during, the busy times during the day, which seems to be all day long from what I can observe. But, in the morning, okay, well, see, it's going to sound like all day, isn't it? I'm going to say in the morning, in the afternoon, in the early evening. For the cost of a small cup of coffee, it doesn't have to be anything extravagant, you can hang out for all kinds of time because, most of these places want the traffic and they want people sitting and being comfortable. It helps make the place look more inviting. So if you like to be around a lot of people and, see activity and coming and going, then get yourself out. You don't have to hide in the house and be a hermit, and you don't have to spend a lot of money. Some of these places even have free wireless internet, which means if you have a laptop, you can go and be searching for your job and taking care of communications while you're out and about, so you can recreate an atmosphere with other people around you. If you like routine and structures, you liked that routine of being at the office at a certain time and doing things at a certain time, set yourself up a schedule. You can do that. Get up in the morning, every day at the same time, have your coffee, work on your job search, do some other things, have lunch, work out, and, give yourself a plan, a routine, so that you don't feel like a fish out of water. I will challenge you, though, and say if you're a person who misses the routine, try a day or two without it, just to see what it's like. You never know. You might like it. Do you miss driving? Some people like to drive. If some people like to drive because that's their thinking time, or some people just like to drive. So go take a drive. You don't have to empty the gas tank every day, but you could certainly go take a drive, or you could help somebody out who doesn't have a car. That would be a nice thing. You could volunteer to be an occasional driver for a neighbor or friend who doesn't have transportation. That would be a wonderful thing to do. Maybe you want to use this time to learn. Maybe you miss the learning and the taking in of information. You can go to the library. I don't know about your particular city. Many cities' library cards are free, or it's a very, very small fee if you don't already have a library card. That library card gives you access to all kinds of fabulous information. If you're on sensory overload, then that's not the approach for you. I'll bet you have a gym membership that you're paying for on a regular basis. So many people do. So many people have a gym membership that's being paid on a credit card or comes automatically out of your checking account every month, and it's such a small amount you never pay attention to it. Go use it. Go use it. You might also belong to the majority of the population who is always saying how they need to get in better shape, or if I didn't work so much, I'd have a better exercise routine. Okay, it's now. Now is the time. And going to the gym in the middle of the day can be really neat because you're not completely alone. So sure, there's one or two people. There are not big lines usually for anything. And it's very nice and it's very peaceful. If you don't have a gym membership, you can go hiking, you can go walking, you can work in the garden. You can probably buy a pack of seeds for less than a cup of coffee. And speaking of a cup of coffee, I bet you have some friends you could catch up with. I bet there's all kinds of people that you could meet for a small cup of coffee and catch up and say hi. There are probably people that you can meet for lunch that you haven't seen for a while. You know, all those people that you've been meaning to get to. So see, look at all the things that you can be doing if you allow yourself to use this gift. I also think, let's say you're a person who really likes to accomplish things. I was one of these, still am. Well, so I can't say I was this person. I still am this person. I just do it different ways. When I was out of work, one of my concerns for myself was that I was going to lose it because I didn't have projects to work on and goals and due dates. Sure, I had projects to work on. I had a whole house full of projects to work on. Rooms that I meant to reorganize, closets that needed to be cleaned out, mending that could be taken care of. I'll bet you have all of that. Do you have things in your garage that you're waiting to take to the Goodwill? Do you have, I don't know, a model airplane or something, a train set that you've been meaning to put together? A car that you work on? Now's the time. Now is the time. You might think, now what about my job search? Well, what about your job search? There's nothing I'm saying to you that says do not work on your job search. What I'm suggesting to you is you're going to work on your job search and you are going to allow yourself to enjoy your time. There are some time wasters, some traps to avoid. Be very careful about daytime television. Daytime television is a big trap. And, you might sit down with all kinds of good intentions for a few minutes, and the next thing you know, a few hours have gone by. And if we can just go back to friends and family for a moment, I can tell you for a fact that if when they leave in the morning, or if they talk to you in the morning and you're watching TV, and they come home at the end of the day and you're still watching TV, that is definitely going to trigger that what did you do all day question, isn't it? And really, what did you do all day? Did watching TV all day improve the quality of your life? Is that what you want to look back on this time and say, well, great news, I am caught up on all the daytime soaps? I don't think I'm guessing that's not what you really want. The Internet is a wonderful tool. Can you remember when we didn't have the Internet? We probably can, but boy, doesn't it? It really has become part of our life. And so there you are. You log on. You're working on your job search. You see a job posted by a company. You research that company. One link leads to another, and then to another. And then the next thing you know, you're reading an urban legend about a 200-year-old catfish. Probably enough said there, right? So be careful with the Internet too, because it's a fabulous tool, and it's also it can be a trap. Telling yourself you can't start something new because you might go back to work any day is another trap. And you know what? Yes, Absolutely. You could go back to work any day. We don't know when you're going back to work yet. You are going back to work. But to not do something because you might go back to work, that's not such a good excuse. You know, to tell yourself, well, I can't start something new because I'm going to go back to work. What is it you're going to start that you can't go ahead and reschedule or change once you do accept that fabulous opportunity? So if you want to take a group, join a group, a networking group, or take a class or volunteer, please don't use that, well, but I can't because I could go back any day as an excuse. It's not really a good excuse. I'm also going to warn you about treats. I deserve a treat, so I'm going to buy myself, I don't know, whatever it is you love, fill in the blank, which could also be translated into, I deserve a treat, so I think I'm going to go buy some cupcakes. Or, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, I'm not driving, I'm not working, I can have a drink if I feel like it. Yes, you can have a drink if you feel like it. Sure, you can have a cupcake. But please just be careful. Be careful of overindulgence. Anything that's a comfort thing, like comfort shopping, comfort eating, can lead to a vicious cycle. It goes something like this. You're upset. You're feeling a little down. So you buy a little something to cheer yourself up. It's on sale. You can use it anyway. It's not a big deal, right? Then you do it again. Then your credit card bill comes in. And you realize that now you've made your financial situation a little bit more difficult. Well, of course, this bothers you, doesn't it? So you feel a little down. So to cheer yourself up, you buy yourself a little something. Find new ways to give yourself a treat. Make the treat something that makes you feel good now and does not lead to regret later. A nice cup of coffee, sit down with a good book or a magazine, take a nice long walk, indulge in a little long-distance phone call to a friend, take a nice long bath, something fun but not expensive. Sure, you deserve a treat. What you don't deserve is to overindulge and then feel worse about it later. And the last trap that I want to warn you about is, well, I listened to this congratulations you're out of work thing, and I read the ebook, and I think it's a great idea. I should be having a fabulous time in my life. And you know what? This is a rare time when my time is mine, and it doesn't belong to the time clock. So I'm busy. I'm too busy with me to look for work. Nothing I'm sharing with you here in this audio or in the ebook is meant to be used as an avoidance tactic. Yes, you have worked hard for a very long time, and it's true. You may never get time off like this again until you retire. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be paying attention to your job search. You might decide when you first leave your job to take some time and relax before you start. Please just give yourself a time limit. You know what is reasonable for you. You know what? If you are feeling financially secure, take a vacation and then start your search when you return. And if you don't feel as secure, then you know what? Get your resume ready and start your search now. Everything we're talking about enjoying your time and developing yourself, all these things can occur while you're searching for your next opportunity. And although I've warned you about 5 traps, I'm also asking you to be aware of anything you know about yourself personally, things that tend to distract you from your goals. You know the situations or behaviors that can lead you astray. So just be vigilant and recognize them for what they are, because they're really just, temporary quick fixes and distractions. And I really don't believe that you want to look back on this time and say, well, while I was out of work, you know what, in the cyber world, I was Og the Destroyer. I don't think that's how you want to brag about it. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, you know what, Og the Destroyer, you go have a fabulous time. Knock yourself out. So you still thinking that, this is great. I have all this time, but I don't have money. What can I do? You might still be thinking that. There are so many things that you can do that don't take a lot of money. And we've already talked about some of them, your gym membership, the walking, the hiking, reading, catching up with projects around the house, visiting people for inexpensive cups of coffee, taking classes at your local parks and recreation or local junior college, spending time in the library doing research, volunteering. We talked about volunteering. This is the ultimate gift, when you can volunteer your time and give of yourself. And in the ebook, I mention a site. It's called volunteermatch.org, and there are other places to look too. This is a site that will actually help you find ways to volunteer and places, and you enter, I think, in your city and your zip code. It will give you ideas. Your community also knows. And if this is a time when you're thinking about starting a business, then consider calling your city, because a lot of cities offer free workshops for small businesses. So you have the time, go sit in on some of these free workshops. Look around for other free workshops that are offered by local community institutions. And look for an organization called SCORE, S-C-O-R-E. They are an organization of retired professionals who act as business counselors and mentors to small businesses. And many, I think practically most of their services are free. And they provide you all kinds of business guides and some excellent help. And so if this is a venue you want to explore, this is the time, and you don't have to worry about outlaying a lot of cash. You might be amazed at the number of free activities that are available. I was. Most museums have at least one free day a month, and some have a free day every week. So now is the time to get to that museum. Some theaters and performing arts groups will let you attend their dress rehearsals. All you have to do is call and ask or look it up. So look for local community theaters and find out what's going on. And that research would be, by the way, a lot more productive than Googling your old high school classmates. And while you're searching, try this. Type in things to do for free in, and then I'm leaving that pause there. That's my blank. Filling in the blank for your city or area. I did this for Los Angeles, California, and got thousands of hits. Now, Los Angeles, California is a big area. I know. I tried it again with Sarasota, Florida. Sarasota, Florida is much smaller than Los Angeles. Do you know what the first item that came up on my search? 50 fun and free things to do in Sarasota. So don't tell me there's nothing to do and that everything costs money, because it's just not true. So please pay attention to what you need to get from this time, what you want to get from this time, and get creative. You've just heard all kinds of ideas, and I know that this is going to help you come up with even more ideas that are going to work just for you. One of the last things I'm going to say to you now is think about, if you could do anything, what would you do? If you could do anything, what would you do? And this is an exercise that's in the ebook. I want you to start thinking about it now, and I don't want you to censor yourself. Answer that sentence with what comes to mind. Do not censor it. Do not worry about your current situation. What I'm asking you to do is now to take a look at that and translate it. So if what came up for you, let's say you said, I would love to travel around the world. Okay, so is that a possibility for you right now? Can you take some time off and travel? Can you take time off and travel around the world? Go do it. No? Do you have the time and money to do some travel? Go do it. No? I know you can go to the library and read and learn about different cultures and attend to travel logs. So go do that. Or go get some cookbooks on some of the cuisines of some of these areas. Check them out. You don't have to buy them. And cook cuisine from around the world. There are many ways in which you can satisfy some of your lifelong desires. And that's what I want this time to be about for you, is your ability to acknowledge that you're not your job. Sure, change is difficult, but you're tougher. And you have this freedom. And you are going to make this a wonderful time. And every day you have this gift, which is, this potential for this uncharted day. And you're going to use some of that time to make it easier for your family by, doing some extra things to ease the burden on everyone. And the rest of the time, you're going to do something so that when you look back, you're going to look back and smile. And that's my wish for you. So thank you, and I wish you all the best during this time of your life and beyond. I appreciate that you've let me be part of your journey. Thank you for listening. This is Margaret Maloney on Congratulations, You're Out of Work.
And that was part 2 of Margaret Maloney's Congratulations, You're Out of Work. You can hear part 1 of her presentation in the previous episode, or if you want to hear it in its entirety, then click over to margaretmaloney.com/CYOW.html and sign up to receive a complete package that can help you deal with your situation. Of course, you can also find this URL on thepmpodcast.com. And that's it for today. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time.